It was a heartbreaking way to lose it for the Bills.
They played their hearts out, absolutely, but just wasn't to be this year.
You're out there for one thing and one thing only, to win the Super Bowl. And it's sad to say, but we never actually fulfilled that part of our dream.
For most of the 1970s and 80s, Buffalo was an NFL wasteland. The football seasons were as dark and cold as the town's winters. In the mid-80s, the Bills hit rock bottom with back-to-back 2-14 seasons. They became a target of ridicule in their own city.
There were knock-knock jokes. Knock-knock, who's there? Owen who? 0-8. There were fans, they just look at you and tell you, straight out, you guys suck.
To make matters worse, the quarterback who was expected to lift the dark cloud from the franchise wanted no parts of it.
Buffalo selects quarterback Jim Kelly, Miami of Florida.
Honestly, I cried pretty much, not full-blown tears, but I grew up in Pittsburgh. I rooted for the Steelers, and as a teenager, watching them go to all those Super Bowls. And of course, I wasn't thinking about going to Buffalo, and I ended up not going to Buffalo.
Jim Kelly rejected Buffalo and played 2 seasons with the Houston Gamblers of the new United States Football League. But when the league folded, the quarterback needed a team, and he agreed to sign with Buffalo just before the start of the 1986 season.
The Bills have been on the ropes for several seasons now. Attendance has slipped badly because the one-loss record is dripping in red paint. But suddenly, the warnings and portents vanished when on August 18th, the Bills announced that they had signed a young man named Jim Kelly, a quarterback with an $8 million arm.
This is just 19 days after Jim Kelly signed a contract with the Buffalo Bills. Van, I don't think there's been an opening day that's been as eagerly anticipated as this one, and Kelly has made the difference there.
Even with Kelly's arrival, the Bills struggled in 1986. Midway through the season, Buffalo brought in new head coach Marv Levy, a man who, in most professions, would be approaching retirement age.
I was 60 at the time. I was hired. When I went to the first media conference, they asked how old you are, and I lied. I said 57, because it just sounded different. In that first meeting, when I walked into the room mid-season, I told the players, fellas, I want you to know something. We don't have a generation gap. We have a 2-generation gap. But what I said to them was, what it takes to win is simple, but it isn't easy. If you run, throw, block, tackle, catch, kick better than your opponent, you're going to win. So let's go to work.
Piece by piece, Buffalo was building a contender. A year earlier, they had drafted number 83 receiver Andre Reed and number 78 defensive lineman Bruce Smith. In 1987, they added Pro Bowl linebackers Shane Conlon and Cornelius Bennett.
I said, we got a chance to be really, really damn good. We just had a lot of talent around us, and we just started beating on folks. People were like, well, where did they come from? How did they get to be this good that quick?
In 1988, the Bills added future Hall of Fame back Thurman Thomas. Buffalo won 12 games and a division championship.
Scott Norwood a chance to win it.
The put down, the kick is up, and it is good. The Bills have won it in overtime. They win the division championship.
And the Buffalo Bills have come from oblivion.
3 years' time, we totally changed a franchise around that everybody laughed at the beginning, but the late 80s, early 90s, not too many people were laughing anymore.
Fellas, listen up. All you ever asked for is an opportunity. You got it today. Where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
Marv Levy always seemed to know just what to say, and not just because he earned a master's degree in English history from Harvard. At a young age, Levy learned the power of the spoken word.
When I was a 14-year-old boy and World War II had just begun, I sat by the radio and listened to the British Prime Minister talk to the British people who, in all essence, were defeated.
We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall never surrender.
Winston Churchill, I have never heard anyone more inspirational than that man. And he became an idol of mine. And to me, he is the greatest historical figure of the 20th century.
I'm always quoting Winston Churchill. My favorite Winston Churchill quote is about a guy he doesn't like. It says, the guy's got all the virtues I don't like and none of the vices I admire.
Levy often taught his team lessons in military history.
He would go off on a tangent telling you a story about war. And you'd sit there and you'd listen and you go, hey, Marv, can you back up and break that down a little bit for me? Because I didn't quite get it.
I knew that they might have to think and they might look around a little bit perplexed. I never wanted to give the impression that football and war were the same. But I was doing it to make a point, darn it.
In 1989, the coach with all the war stories had his own battles to contend with. When several players aired their differences in the media, the team earned the nickname the Bickering Bills.
And every little thing, if there was a shot on the sideline of somebody being animated, we were having a big argument, supposedly.
I like to call us the misfit toys from Christmas that somebody left off in Buffalo. It was bickering, but you think about it in your family. You fight with your brothers and your sisters, but you still love them.
You say things you probably shouldn't say, and all young athletes do the same. You know, you grow, you mature as time goes on.
The Bills finished the 1989 season a disappointing 9-7 and were bounced from the playoffs. As Buffalo entered the 1990 season, the team's chemistry was still in question. Following an opening day win, the Bills were blown out in Miami in Week 2. Midway through the fourth quarter, Levy pulled his starters from the game.
A lot of guys on defense, we got mad because you feel like he's pulling you out to keep you from getting beat up worse. And that's making you look like a sissy or a punk. Let me stand there and take my ass whooping. And I was like, that ain't gonna ever happen to me again.
I admired the players that didn't want to come out, and I told them, I'm glad you were upset about it. The next day out on the field, it was an extremely warm day in Buffalo, and it was a terrible practice. They couldn't wait to get off. But I was really angry that they didn't come back fighting better than that. Called a meeting after practice and told them a story that I had learned from my own father, who had been a member of the Marine Corps in World War I. They fought at the Battle of Belleau Wood. The Marines were very exhausted, and their commander said, we are going to attack now. And the Marines were unbelieving. The commander looked in his eye, and he said, when it's too tough for them, it's just right for us. So I relayed that story to the players. And I said, tomorrow it's going to be hot, and you're going to be tired, and I'm going to be tired, but I at least am going to go out there at 100%, and if you don't, I'll just know that when it's too tough for you, it's just right for me.
The 65-year-old coach kept command of his talented troops.
We did have a lot of different egos on our team, and when we did step out of line, he always let us know. When he got angry, you knew when he got angry. He didn't do it much.
You got to come upfield with it.
But when he did, you knew who was boss.
Get upfield and stop dancing.
Marv never speaks just to talk. He speaks because he has something to get across to you. Everything that he did had meaning to it. Everything he did.
I know it is. He was a master at communication. I'm telling you, if we had aliens on this planet, I bet you Marv could sit down and talk to him. There couldn't have been anybody else been around the cast of characters that we had on our team and got us to do what we did.
After the loss in Miami, Levy's team had a chance to prove its toughness. Against Denver, Buffalo trailed 21-9 in the fourth quarter.
The first thing went through our heads was, he's going to pull us out of the game again. And no, we're not going to let this happen. We got to do something. Somebody's got to make a play.
Waiting for the snap. And the put down and the block. It is blocked and taken there by Cornelius Bennett. 30, 40, midfield, touchdown, Cornelius Bennett.
Buffalo scored 3 touchdowns in 77 seconds.
Elway throws, it's deflected and intercepted by the Bills. Leonard Smith at the 30, down to the 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, he scored!
A week later, the Bills overcame a 10-point fourth-quarter deficit.
And it's blocked, and the Bills have the ball, and on the way to the end zone is number 31, James Williams. He scored!
In their next game, the Bills' winning score came with just 19 seconds left.
Here's Kelly to throw, looking, can't find anyone. Now he throws, touchdown, Johnny Mueller. The Bills have done it again.
Way to come back, guys. Way to hang in there.
The Bills had won 4 straight and were now 5-1. The team that once couldn't get along had now found its winning chemistry and was answering its critics.
It's a great football team with a lot of moral fiber and a lot of character, and they showed it. And I think those who say that they don't have it, and there are who do and who wait for them to stumble, ought to examine their own character.
The resiliency that we had, the will to win that we had in our hearts.
Congratulations.
It came down to one person getting us ready each and every week. That was Marv Levy.
In 1990, the Bills featured a league-high 10 Pro Bowl performers, including 5 future Hall of Famers.
I played on a team that was full of stars on offense and defense, and not everybody can be a star. Not everybody can get their just due.
Number 56, Darryl Talley, knew what it was like to feel overlooked. For years, the outside linebacker did the dirty work while his teammates reaped the rewards. He was often forgotten by the media, and through his first 7 seasons, Talley was never named to the Pro Bowl.
I feel like this. I feel like Rodney Dangerfield. I get no respect for nothing I do. I'm not getting any respect from the media, and I went in there, took me some tape, put it up over my name tag, and wrote Rodney. And everybody looked at me, what's wrong? I'm Rodney Dangerfield. I get no respect. What else can I do? Like I said, the only thing else I can do is turn into God. And I can't do that because I can't walk on water.
And you know, I can understand it. The role he played in our team, because there were so many stars, probably wasn't highlighted enough.
And after a while, I said, you know what? Forget it. There's nothing to be mad about. I'm winning. My teammates are having a good time. I just tried to block out what the media was doing and played football.
In 1990, Talley led the team in tackles. In Week 9, he had 2 interceptions in a rout of the Browns.
Intercepted by the Bills. Talley at the 40.
He's
at
going
the
all the
30. Darryl Talley scored.
But Talley's biggest contribution to the team may have come from his personality.
Darryl's a strange character, man. He's one of my best friends, and see the smile put on my face? Darryl's pure entertainment, and he was one of our biggest leaders.
Let it go. We got to have it. Let it go.
His leadership came primarily from his enthusiasm for the game, for how much he was in it.
Let's go, baby. Let's tighten it up now. Tighten it up and get after it. Let's go. Start the full.
Darrell had just the right feel for when to call a player aside.
Work there. Come on, keep playing.
I think he helped inspire Bruce Smith, who, when he first came into the league, was a rather overweight, self-indulgent guy. A couple years later, there was no more dedicated workout guy, no one who loved the game more, and Darrell Talley was a big part of that.
Show him something never seen. That's all I got to say.
Bruce Smith would go on to become the NFL's all-time sack leader, and in 1990, he had a career-high 19. All season, Smith, Talley, and the rest of the defense followed a simple plan.
We were exceptionally quick, and we just wanted to hit you. Let's just run and knock the ever-living out of everybody that moves.
All right, let's go. We're going to knock their ass off.
In Week 11 against the Patriots, the Bills' defense posted its second shutout in 3 weeks, and Buffalo ran its winning streak to 8 games.
Here is Thurman Thomas. He breaks through at the 30, at the 35, 40, 45, midfield, one man to beat. He's at the 30, he's at the 20, he's at the 10, at the 5, touchdown.
The Bills were 9-1, thanks to a cast of Pro Bowlers and an unheralded leader.
Ever since I was a little boy, I wanted the ball in my hand, whether it was in basketball, baseball, or football. I always wanted to be the guy to run the show.
In 1990, Jim Kelly got his wish. Head coach Marv Levy's idea to put the offense in his quarterback's hands came from the Bills' playoff loss the year before. Against the Browns, the Bills fell behind early, but when they turned to their no-huddle offense, they nearly came back to win.
From that moment on, Ted Marchibroda, our offensive coordinator, and I would talk, maybe that's something we ought to not wait till the last few minutes to do. And then, before the next season began, Ted said to me, Marv, why don't we open the season opener with our 2-minute drill? I sort of looked at Ted and I said, I've been thinking the same thing, Ted. That was the beginning.
He put his job security on, and really think about it. Here he was letting a quarterback take the offense, and if I burn, he's burning with me.
Instead of crashing and burning, Kelly and the Bills set the field ablaze. Kelly was the NFL's top-rated passer in 1990, and Buffalo led the league in scoring.
In the no-huddle offense, Kelly to throw again. He throws long this time, and it is caught. He's on his way for a touchdown.
It was balls to the wall. I mean, they kept the accelerator down. They didn't let up on anything or anybody.
With the Bills' no-huddle offense scoring so quickly, Buffalo's defense didn't have much time to rest.
I was like this, if you got a cash register that's gonna run and tally up the points, guess what? Let that puppy run. Run it up as high as you can. Don't stop it on my account. We conditioned ourselves to play against that in practice, so it didn't bother us on defense.
In 1990, Kelly was the only NFL quarterback to call his own plays, and he mixed the pass and run equally. Thurman Thomas was the workhorse, but Kelly wasn't afraid to run the ball himself. The quarterback was hardly quick as a cat, but he did remind some of a certain feline.
I called him Heathcliff. I mean, he's the cat that thinks he's a dog. He's a quarterback, but he thinks he's a linebacker, and he thinks he's as tough as anybody out there.
Come on, Heathcliff, let's get him going.
And trust me, he looks like Fred Flintstone running, but he'd run head first, jump in the pile, whatever it took.
That comes from being raised in a family of 6 boys.
Heathcliff, way to play, Heathcliff.
I was the football plenty of times when I was a young kid. A lot of teams recruited me out of high school to play linebacker. My brother said, you don't want to play linebacker, you want to play quarterback.
Despite his toughness on the field, the Bills quarterback showed a delicate stomach in the pregame locker room.
He would throw up every single week. You hear something in the background going, "Whoa, whoa." Well, 12's ready. We don't have to worry. Let's go.
Yeah, that got to be kind of old, to be honest with you, because they would not even leave the locker room until I get done throwing up.
I'm sitting there waiting. All of a sudden, here it is. I hear him. "Whoa, there's Jim. Let's go. We're ready to play now, guys."
In some games, I really didn't want to throw up because sometimes it hurt. But sometimes I went back and I faked like I was so I can get everybody ready to go.
As the 1990 season wore on, Kelly continued to make opponents feel sick. In Week 13, he passed for 3 touchdowns against the Eagles.
Down to the 20, the 15, the 10, the 5. He scored!
The following week, Kelly and the Bills blew out the Colts. In a Week 15 showdown with the Giants, Kelly staked Buffalo to an early lead. But then the unthinkable happened to the indestructible quarterback.
I go, uh-oh, Heathcliff is down. He doesn't get hurt.
Kelly is hurt. He is hurt horribly.
Have you ever had a knee injury? It doesn't tickle.
No, don't do that, dog. Don't do that.
Jimmy, hold on a second. Where did you feel that at?
Of course, it's tremendously distressing. Here's a guy that's the leader of your team. He's carried you this far, and now he's injured.
The 12-2 Bills won the game, but they appeared to have suffered a loss that could destroy their season. Jim Kelly's knee injury in Week 15 left the quarterback's status in question.
Sprained a ligament, and we'll reassess it and see where the extent of the time that's going to be needed for his recuperation. So he could be back. Oh, yes. Yes, we anticipate him to come back.
Kelly, however, would miss the crucial Week 16 showdown against division rival Miami. He watched as number 14 Frank Reich helped Buffalo clinch the AFC East title.
This is where it gets tough and the traffic gets heavy. Reich will throw. Looking, throws, touchdown, James Lofton.
The Bills finished 13-3 and earned a bye week before their first playoff game. Even with the extra time off, it was uncertain whether Kelly would be ready.
4 days before the game when he first starts practicing, you're reserving judgment. When he saw you looking to see if you're trying to discern, is he ready, he would throw off vibes like, "You bet I am, don't you for a minute think I'm not."
In the no-huddle offense, the blitz is on. He throws. He's got a man, Reed, at the 20, down to the 15, to the 10, 5. Touchdown, Andre Reed.
4 weeks after his injury, Kelly threw for 339 yards and 3 touchdowns.
And Rich Stadium has erupted in Fandemonia.
Next week, baby, one more game. Let's play.
One more game for the Bills to reach their first Super Bowl. Their coach put it a different way.
One more river to cross. This was something that had been sung during World War II by the British 8th Army as they advanced. And so at our team meetings the night before the game, I recall that.
He stood up and sang it.
Yeah, he's no Frank Sinatra, that's for sure.
One more river to cross. We got one more game left to get to the other side.
The players took their coach's latest message to heart and recalled another from several months back.
Just before the kickoff, Darryl Talley said, "Coach, can I say something?" And I said, yeah, Darryl, go ahead. And he turned to the player and says, when it's too tough for them, it's just right for us.
There's no place else you'd rather be than right here, right now. When it's too tough for them, it's just right for us.
That game, the ball just bounced the right way. It was a snap, I fumbled, and I went to pick it up, and my helmet got thrown up in my face. I had to adjust my helmet. I scrambled to the right, and I threw one to James Lofton.
He drops the ball, picks it up, rolls to the right, still on his feet.
Just remember everything clicking.
Now throws, it's good to Lofton. He runs in for the score.
By halftime, Buffalo was ahead 41-3.
And I know the Raiders can poo-poo the no-huddle offense, saying that they've seen it before, but they've never seen it the way the Bills run it.
Once we got them down, it was like, look, don't let up.
Everybody to the ball. Everybody to the ball now.
If you got them down, you better keep them down there and keep beating them. And that's what we did.
And they're after Slater, and he throws it, intercepted by Kelly.
On the sideline, Cornelius asked me, what got up your ass, man? I ain't never seen you go after somebody like this.
Slow down. Catch your breath a second.
I definitely think I went somewhere different that day.
And it is intercepted there. Picked off by Kelly. He's down the sidelines to the 20.
Following the game, Darryl Talley was named as a late addition to his first Pro Bowl. But before that was a more important trip.
The Bills are in the Super Bowl for the first time in their history.
I went through all of the knock-knock jokes, and to finally culminate with going to the Super Bowl, that was perhaps one of the best feelings you're going to get right there.
Where we going? To the show. Where we going? To the show. What time? Next week? What time is it? Showtime, baby.
There's a surreal sense about it, really. Is this really happening? Am I really part of this? And you also look around and you look at these players that you've been working with so hard. It's a jubilation you feel, and you should savor.
Don't be misled by the size of the score, because you got another river to cross.
There's one more river to cross. You know, you'd sit back here in Little East Brady High School, and I was always a Steeler fan. And seeing Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris, Lynn Swann, those type of players playing in the Super Bowl, and I said, maybe one of these days I'll get my chance. Well, my chance has come, but 20 years down the road, they'll say, oh, Buffalo was in it, but they're going to know who won it. So our goal is to win it, not just to show up.
As the Bills arrived in Tampa for Super Bowl 25, halfway around the world, the United States entered the Persian Gulf War. While the country's thoughts were on the conflict overseas, emotions and patriotism ran high at Tampa Stadium.
Let's go! Let's go!
This is the biggest game of my career. And knowing that your country's at war, I mean, you've got all of that rushing through you. And to say the least, Whitney Houston nailed the national anthem. When the planes flew overhead, if you didn't get goosebumps on you then, you're not an American. I'm gonna tell you what, that was the most exciting thing that ever happened to me, except for the birth of my two kids. I never will forget that feeling. I get goosebumps now thinking about it.
Remember, you guys, when
for them. It's going to be just right.
The Bills were favored over the Giants, and at the start of Super Bowl 25, Buffalo seemed destined for a championship.
Hostetler may put it up here. On second down, he's going to throw, and they're after him. He falls down in the end zone. It was Bruce Smith on top of him.
But Bill Parcells' Giants stayed with Buffalo. New York controlled the clock with a power running game and produced long scoring drives at the end of the half and start of the third quarter.
Bills have not had the ball in this quarter, and the clock is running, and that's just the way the Giants want it. And Jim Kelly is watching helplessly at the sideline.
As an offensive team, just stand on the sidelines for so long. They marched on 8 or 9 minutes with the ball. And then, of course, you go through that long halftime. Then we kick off to them. They get the ball. They control the clock again. They come down. Probably a good hour, hour and a half that we weren't even on a football field.
We would give up stupid plays. I mean, we missed tackles in that game, and we usually didn't miss tackles. And I missed one that I think was on the most crucial play of the game.
Third and about 13. They have the ball at the 32-yard line of the Bills. Here's a huge play. Hostetler to throw, and he's got a man there, and he breaks loose, and he is going to be hit. Ingram falls forward. He may have the first down. The Bills again should have stopped him.
Horrible tackle. You're right.
I went right over the top. I just about took his head off, but I accept responsibility for missing him. I wish I could have every one I missed back, but that one more so than any other.
5 plays after the crucial third down conversion, the Giants scored to take the lead. Marv Levy's team had hardly touched the ball, but with the Bills trailing by 1 in the final minutes, Buffalo's offense got one last shot.
It's in Heathcliff's hands. You know, it's up to him. He's got to orchestrate us down the field.
Came down for me, everything I dreamt about as a little kid. 2 minutes left in the ball game. The ball's in my hands. It's Super Bowl. Everything. As a little kid, there it was right in front of me.
Now we have 2:16 to play, and this will be it. One more shot
Man, you
for
wouldn't
Jim
want
Kelly
it,
and the Bills.
You wouldn't want it any other way.
90 yards away from a touchdown, and probably 70 yards away from a field goal shot. .131 to play, 1:30 to play, 1:29. .113 to play, 1:12.
I knew the confidence I had in our kicker. I knew from Scott, anything inside the 50, he was good, he could make it, and my goal was to get our team inside the 30-yard line.
31 seconds left. Here's a running play. Thurman Thomas at the 40, 35, 30. We're down to 12, 11, 10. Kelly may spike the ball here.
I think he'll spike it.
He will spike the ball. High drama here in the Super Bowl. Kelly moved this team 60 yards in 2 minutes and 8 seconds.
Good job, Jim. We're going to move on this. Good job, Jim.
The quiet man of this football team, Scott Norwood. He can fire the shot heard round the world now.
If there was any thought in my mind at all, believe it or not, if he makes this, there's still going to be about 4 seconds left. Now, what are we going to do? You know, think about it.
He has made 8 of his last 9.
Scotty's going out to do his thing. You know, that was it.
I just had confidence he was going to put it through, and we were going to win the Super Bowl. We're going to go home happy, and you take a deep breath, just relax. It's going to go through.
hearts beat faster in Buffalo. This shot will be 47 yards. Reich waiting for the snap. Puts it down on the way. It's long enough. And it is no good. He missed it to the right with 4 seconds to play.
From this day on, I still thought that thing went through. On that sidelines, it looked like it was coming right through.
Well, it was a heartbreaking way to lose it for the Bills. An anguished look on the face of Jim Kelly.
Yeah, it hurt. I felt for the players. I felt for the city of Buffalo. And to be honest with you, for my family. For my 5 brothers, my mom and dad that helped me throughout my high school, college, and NFL career. They were right there with me the whole time. I felt for them.
Cornelius and I walked off the field together that night, and we just shook our heads and said, damn, just let one get away.
They played their hearts out absolutely, but just wasn't to be this year.
A very quiet locker room, as you can imagine, after the game, and I went over, didn't know what I was going to say. Sit down next to Scott Norwood. Before I could say anything to him, Darrell and Nate Odoms came over.
I said, man, don't worry about it. I missed tackles, man. The game should have never come down to that, and we all had chances in that game to make plays, to make a difference in it.
You go back to the hotel, and you just you mourn. You pound your mattress. Finally, you get off by yourself in the dark of night, and everybody's asleep. And I remembered some words from a poem about an old Scottish warrior. "Fight on, my men," Sir Andrew said. "A little I'm hurt, but not yet slain. I'll just lie down and bleed a while. And then I'll rise and fight again."
The poem that consoled Marv Levy the night of Super Bowl 25 became a touchstone for the Bills players.
When we got back to Buffalo the next day for our final wrap-up meeting, I had that drawn up, posted it on the bulletin board, and about 8 or 10 players came by after the meeting and said, "You have a copy of that, Coach?" And over the next years, something went wrong. Somebody, I don't know who it was, would post a copy of that poem again. "Fight on, my men," Sir Andrew said. "A little I'm hurt, but not yet slain.
I'll just lie down and bleed a while.
And then I'll rise and fight again."
The Bills followed their Super Bowl 25 loss with perhaps the greatest run of resilience in NFL history. In 1991, the Bills once again rolled through the regular season, but once again fell short in the Super Bowl.
I remember after our second Super Bowl loss, on a call-in show that I appeared in, one fan called in and he said, "Coach, I can't take it anymore. I don't want to go back to the Super Bowl next year. It hurts too much." I said, "Sir, I appreciate your anguish. I share it, but I'm glad you're not on my team."
I guess you could say we were pissed off at everybody because nobody wanted us there. Because they say, oh, they're just going to go there and lose. And you know what? They can get as mad as they want at me. I'm going back. I'm going back until I drop or win it.
Everybody waiting for us to fall. We may fall a little bit every now and then, but we always know one thing. We're going to get right back up.
The ability to get up after repeatedly being knocked down was a lesson the coach had taught his team well.
What do? Do you just keep lying there in the fetal position and whimper? Or do you get off and fight again another day?
We could come from the depths of hell and snatch the victory right out of your mouth.
We can overcome, baby. We can overcome this.
In the 1992 playoffs, the Bills overcame a 35-3 deficit and produced the greatest comeback in NFL history on the way to their third straight Super Bowl.
Now you talk about character. This is one. This is a team, damn it.
What a comeback by the Bills. You gotta believe if you're a Bills fan.
And so now it's in God's hands. God is good. God is just. Please, God, make 3 a charm. Our time has come. Go Bills.
The third time was another disaster, and so was the fourth.
This has just been a horrible and horrendous nightmare for the Bills. What a way to end a tremendous season.
We've worked so hard during the course of the season to make it to where we're at. We have a lot to be proud of, but you know, you'd always think, why do we deserve to lose the way we did today?
We did just about whatever you could do on a field to another team or opposing team, and we get to the last game of the year, and for lack of a better word, piss down our leg. We all had to take the blame for that. We had not 1, 2, 3, 4 bites of that apple and still didn't swallow it.
You know, people say today, are you crestfallen? No. Do I wish we would have won them? Absolutely. 4 of them, 3 of them, 2 of them, 1 of them. Yeah, we would have wanted to win. We all acknowledge it. We can't change it.
It's hard. It's agonizing. It eats at you. When you see a Super Bowl, when you go to one, you go, dang, I had 4 chances to win one. Didn't win one.
Of Buffalo's 4 straight Super Bowl losses, it is the first in Super Bowl 25 that may be the most haunting. To this day, the Bills can't escape reminders of the game that ended wide right.
My daughter's championship basketball game as a 7th grader. Everybody rise for singing the national anthem. It's no lie. It's a 7th grader's championship game. Whitney Houston singing the national anthem. I'm listening to this song. I'm listening and listening. I'm like, that's Super Bowl 25. It came down 4th quarter, 3 seconds ago in the game. We're losing 20-19. Our best free throw shooter on the free throw line, 2 shots. Second one bounces wide right.
You look at basketball, they play 7 games. Baseball, they play 7 games. We only get 1 shot. 1 shot at it.
The Bills are the only team to get that 1 shot 4 straight times. And though they never earned a championship ring, they earned a special place in NFL history.
Some people have played their whole lives and never gotten it. We did it 4 times in a row. I think that's something special. I don't care what anybody has to say about it, and they can tell me I'm crazy, but I do think, in the grand scheme of things, we're one of the better teams ever amassed in the history of the game.